President Hernandez, Superintendent Favela, members of the board. My name is Ed Dawson, and I am pleased and absolutely honored to do this webinar on the 21st Century Community Grant Learning Center Grant. As many of you know, the 21st Century Community Grant is a highly sought after grant across the United States, not only because of its enormous amount of funding that it provides schools, but as you'll see in this presentation, one of the reasons why it is so sought after is because it is meant not just for remediation, but for enhancement and enrichment of students. So what we're going to do is to take a look at what the grant is, how it came to be. We'll take a look at some of the constraints of the grant, as well as how Sunnyside is going to be using this grant in the upcoming years. The mission of the 21st Century Grant really is for those out-of-school time programs to look for high academic enrichment opportunities. And another important part of the 21st Century Grant is to engage adult family members in helping their children succeed academically. And those are the key components of it. Out-of-school time, enrichment, focus on academics, and engage the family and the community. It's a component of that ESEA that we've talked so much about, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, Title IV, Part B. And it was primarily to help children in high-need school to give them quality academic out-of-school time programs. It used to be all federally administered, but over the years it then has slowly gone and now is completely managed at the state level. The Federal Department of Education distributes to the states, then the state determines how it's going to be used within their state, and then they hold applications. Just as a side note, last year they stopped doing any funding for the 21st Century Grant, and that time then was used to kind of reorganize themselves, the state reorganized themselves. And so this past year, beginning last March, is when the applications opened up. And then we found out most recently that we were recipients, and we'll get to that in just a moment. One of the beauty parts of this grant is that it's a 5-year grant, guaranteed. There's very few guarantees in the federal government, but this is a 5-year guaranteed grant. For each school, in the first 3 years, they receive $120,000 to conduct these enrichment programs, these out-of-school opportunities for kids. Year 4, it reduces to $90,000, and by year 5, it's $60,000. Within those 5 years, the idea behind it is that other funding sources can be used to sustain the different types of programs. And based upon the relationships that are formed between the school and the community organizations, hopefully they will go long past year 5. Two of the reasons why why Sunnyside is such an important district for 21st Century Grant is because, as you know, in most grants there's absolute priorities. Well, the absolute priority for the 21st Century Grants are sites with at least 40% free and reduced. And all of our schools are 70% and above. Another aspect of receiving funding is if you're a lower performing school, then you have a higher priority. And that would be our priority school, which is Challenger. And we have used to be 3 focus schools, but Los Ranchitos closed. And we also have a pre-intervention school. So those quote-unquote lower performing schools give us more points when it's time to send in the application. So here are the schools that have 5 years of funding. Our elementary schools, Drexel Elvira, Los Amigos, who has had it before, Mission Manor, Rivera, and Santa Clara. And then our middle schools, Apollo, Laufer, Challenger, and Sierra, which are all of them. And we just got done hiring our district coordinator, Vanessa Gomes, who was the site coordinator for the 21st Century Grant at Los Amigos, and also Lorena Escarza's daughter, just as a side note. So the objectives of the grants are simple And there are three: to increase student achievement, to increase youth development, the whole child, and to engage the family and engage the community. There's certain requirements of the grant, and that's one of the reasons why some schools kind of shy away from the 21st Century Grant, even though it's an amazing amount of money and you can do so many things with it, that there is a lot of requirements that the federal government through the state require. And I'll go through them fairly quickly. 8 hours a week of direct student services. You must address the state standards. Parent and family services, where direct, explicit offerings for parents and families to become engaged in helping their children learn at least 2 hours a week. So all combined services, there needs to be 12 hours a week of after-school activities. Student attendance must be kept in a very strategic way, and the goal of 30 days, a minimum goal of 30 days of student attendance. To establish community partnerships, I know we have a lot of Raytheon, a lot of other organizations that we partner with, the University of Arizona. To establish those partnerships and to sustain those partnerships is also an integral part of this grant. And another part of this grant is that at a minimum, there needs to be 3 weeks of summer programming. One of the nice parts about this grant is that there are also augmentation grants that can go on top of the 21st century. So Los Amigos, last summer, we were able to get $12,500 additional funds to do the free throws basketball camp. So good money follows good work, and good work actually sustains even more money. So this is what it looks like for Sunnyside in our funding beginning this year. By site, we already talked about those. And as the district, in the first 3 years, there will be an influx of $1.2 million across our 10 sites. $900,000 in year 4, $600,000. So the 5-year total of the 21st Century Grant guaranteed $5.1 million. One of the focus that we had in the grants, and then the focus wasn't just something because it was trendy, is that there's a STEAM focus to all the schools. And that is to improve the attitude towards the science, technology, engineering. A can be either agriculture or arts, and math careers. To increase the STEAM knowledge, and if research shows that if the STEAM knowledge and skills increases, especially in children in elementary school, there's a higher likelihood of graduating and, of course, pursuing a career in engineering or math or agriculture. So at Sunnyside, students are going to participate in both the academic, because there will be certain math components, specific math tutoring components, specific language arts tutoring components, as well as youth development classes, and those are variety. It depends. It's everything from mariachi to chess to Zumba or whatever those are going to be. It's going to be married with the Sunnyside Leads program, which is the general tutoring program that we do after school and on weekends. And some of the classes, because of the STEAM focus, are going to be computer programming or coding, growing gardens, what you've heard before, board engineering is everywhere, and engineering adventures, which is the middle school component, science of baseball, the Diamondback STEM program. So what are we going to do next? Well, we have 10 schools. It's our intent to apply for, since you could only do 10, we're going to apply for the rest of the schools this coming year. And it will continue on an annual basis thereafter. So the intent is to do so well and to do it Sunnyside way, so that even when that 5th round comes out, we'll be reapplying again for those same schools for another round of funding. So as long as the funding lasts at the federal level, we are confident, because of how we're going to be doing and how we're going to be conducting our 21st Century Grant, that it will continue through hopefully the next decade. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, stop by the office or give me a call, or give Vanessa